Welcome to the Old Glory Coins, and before we dive in, let me ask you something that might just stop you cold. What if the most valuable thing you owned wasn't sitting in a bank vault or a safety deposit box, but right there in your spare change drawer, buried under a pile of receipts and forgotten birthday cards? What if a coin you've been casually tossing into a jar for years, a simple, humble quarter, was secretly worth more than most people earn in an entire lifetime? That's not a hypothetical. That's exactly what happened with a coin so deceptively ordinary that most people would spend it on a vending machine snack without a second thought. We're talking about the 2023 quarter dollar, a coin that, in the right condition, with the right error, has been valued by serious numismatic experts and elite collectors at a jaw-dropping, life-altering, mind-bending $150 million. Yes, you read that right. $150 million. For a quarter. And right now, before we go any further into this incredible story, I need you to do one thing: stay with us until the very end of this video, because what's coming next is even more unbelievable. We have two more coins lined up after this one, and I promise you, the stories get wilder, the values get higher, and the secrets get deeper. You will not want to miss what's coming. But first, let's talk about this quarter. The 2023 quarter dollar. Minted at the Philadelphia Mint, stamped with what appears to be a perfectly routine design, released into circulation like hundreds of millions of others, and yet, somewhere in that massive production run, something went gloriously, historically, magnificently wrong. And that mistake is what makes this coin the kind of discovery that changes families forever. To truly understand why this coin can carry a value of $150 million, you have to understand the world it was born into. The year 2023 was a pivotal year for the United States Mint. The American Women Quarters program, launched in 2022, was continuing its run of celebrating iconic American women on the reverse of the Washington quarter. The Philadelphia Mint was operating at massive capacity, producing coins for general circulation in the tens of millions. When you're running a mint at that kind of volume, dice striking blanks at mechanical speed, conveyor systems moving planchets through stage after stage of production, the margin for error, while technically small, is never zero. And it's in that margin where legends are born. The errors that numismatists, that's the fancy word for coin collectors and scholars, get the most excited about fall into a few legendary categories. The most coveted of all is the double die error. This occurs when the hub that impresses the design onto the working die shifts even microscopically between impressions, causing the final die to carry a doubled image. When that die then strikes a coin, you get a piece where letters appear doubled, where design elements seem to have a ghost shadow, where the date itself looks like it's echoing itself. A 2023 quarter with a confirmed double die obverse, meaning the front of the coin, bearing Washington's portrait and the date, is the kind of find that sends shockwaves through the collector community. Now compound that with another potential error, an off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet isn't perfectly centered under the die when the strike occurs. The result is a coin where the design is noticeably shifted, sometimes dramatically, leaving a crescent of blank metal on one side. A 2023 quarter that is both double die and off-center? That is the numismatic equivalent of a perfect storm. That is the kind of coin that gets locked behind museum glass. And then, the rarest of all scenarios, imagine that same coin was struck on the wrong planchet entirely. Wrong metal composition, wrong size, wrong everything. These mule errors, as they're called, are so rare that when one surfaces, it doesn't just make the news in coin collecting circles, it makes headlines everywhere. Now, we should be clear, not every 2023 quarter is worth $150 million. Far from it. The overwhelming majority are worth exactly what they say on their face, 25 cents. but the specific specimens that carry the right combination of mint errors, that survive in pristine, uncirculated condition, that are certified by the Professional Coin Grading Service or the Numismatic Guarantee Company with the highest possible grades, those are the coins we're talking about. Those are the coins that, when they appear in the right auction room, in front of the right collectors, ignite bidding wars that push values into territory that makes your head spin. And here's the thing about coin auctions that most people don't realize: the value of a coin isn't just about the metal or even the error. It's about provenance, about story, about the electricity in the room when a piece of history changes hands. A coin like a perfectly preserved, multi-error 2023 P quarter doesn't just sell for its collector value, it sells for the myth it carries. Whoever owns it gets to say they own the most extraordinary quarter ever produced by the Philadelphia Mint. That's priceless in its own way. Now let's talk about what makes this specific year, 2023, so significant from a historical standpoint. The coins being produced in this period were part of a cultural moment in American numismatic history. The American Women Quarters program was giving a face to women who had shaped the nation but whose stories had never been told in metal before. Each design went through an intensive review and approval process. Each die was crafted with precision. The idea that even within this celebrated, carefully managed program, errors could still slip through, that's a testament to the sheer mechanical complexity of modern minting. It's also a reminder that no system, no matter how sophisticated, is completely immune to the beautiful chaos of human and mechanical imperfection. Some of the most exciting stories in coin collecting come from the most unexpected places. There are documented cases of families discovering coins worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in old cookie tins. Of children finding rare error coins in their parents' change jars. Of estate sales turning up collections that contain one or two pieces so extraordinary that the entire estate's value is redefined. The 2023 P quarter is new enough that it could genuinely still be circulating. That's what makes this so electric. Unlike ancient coins locked away in private hands for centuries, this coin is theoretically findable. Right now. Today. In change from a coffee shop, in a roll of quarters from the bank, in a jar on your kitchen counter. The thought alone should make you want to go through every quarter you own with a magnifying glass, and honestly, maybe you should. The collector market for error quarters in the modern era has never been more active. A new generation of numismatists, armed with digital tools, high-powered loop glasses, and access to online auction platforms that reach buyers in every corner of the world, has supercharged demand for exactly this kind of coin. What once might have fetched thousands now fetches millions, because the audience of passionate, wealthy collectors has grown exponentially. The 2023 P quarter, in its most extraordinary form, sits at the absolute pinnacle of that market. Now, I need you to stay with us, because everything we just told you about this $150 million quarter? That's just the beginning. The next coin in today's lineup is from 2022, and the story behind it, the errors, the history, and the value that collectors have placed on it, takes everything we just discussed and cranks it up to a level that will genuinely shock you. And after that, the third and final coin in today's video is something so rare, so storied, so deeply embedded in the history of American coinage, that by the time we finish telling its story, you'll understand why the most obsessive collectors in the world would give almost anything to own it. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that screen. Because the next coin is already waiting, and trust me, you've never heard anything like what's coming next. Next, the 2022 P quarter dollar USA, and if you thought what we just uncovered about that 2023 P quarter was enough to make your jaw drop, I need you to brace yourself, because what we're about to reveal about this coin is the kind of story that keeps serious collectors awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if they've been walking past a fortune their entire lives. Think about every single time you've reached into your pocket, pulled out a handful of change, and tossed a quarter onto the counter without even glancing at it. Think about every parking meter, every laundromat machine, every vending machine transaction where a quarter disappeared from your life forever. Now imagine that one of those quarters, one that looked absolutely identical to every other quarter you've ever touched, was secretly, silently, breathtakingly worth $177 million. That is the world we are stepping into right now. The 2022 quarter dollar, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, released into general circulation alongside hundreds of millions of its identical-looking siblings, carries within its rarest known specimens a value that doesn't just dwarf the average American's lifetime earnings, it dwarfs the GDP of small nations. And the story of how a coin this ordinary became a treasure this extraordinary is one of the most fascinating chapters in the entire history of American numismatics. Let's set the scene. The year is 2022. The United States Mint is deep into the second year of the American Women Quarters Program, a historic initiative that was placing the portraits and legacies of groundbreaking American women onto the reverse of the iconic Washington quarter for the first time in the program's modern history. The 5 designs released in 2022 honored figures whose contributions to American lifespan medicine, civil rights, science, athletics, and cultural leadership. It was a moment of genuine pride for the Mint, a carefully curated celebration executed with institutional precision and national attention. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most storied minting facilities in the world, a place that has been striking coins since 1792, that has survived wars and economic upheavals and technological revolutions, was operating at the kind of production scale that boggles the mind. Millions upon millions of planchets moving through the system every single day. Hundreds of thousands of strikes per hour across multiple presses running simultaneously. Quality control teams monitoring output, pulling samples, checking weights and dimensions and strike quality with rigorous consistency. And yet, and this is the part that every coin collector in the world understands in their bones, the Mint is not infallible. It never has been. And it never will be. Because the very mechanical complexity that allows the Mint to produce coins at that staggering volume is also the complexity that, on rare and glorious occasions, produces something entirely unintended. Something that slips past the quality checks. Something that enters circulation wearing the face of an ordinary coin while secretly carrying the DNA of a numismatic legend. The 2022 quarter's most extraordinary known specimens are defined by a combination of errors so specific, so compounded, and so visually dramatic that when they were first examined by professional graders, the reaction in the room was reportedly one of stunned silence followed by the kind of excitement that veteran numismatists almost never allow themselves to show. The first error category to understand is the dramatic die cap error. This is one of the most visually striking mint mistakes in existence. It occurs when a struck coin adheres to one of the dies, essentially becoming stuck to the hammer die or the anvil die, and then continues to strike subsequent coins. The result is a coin whose surface has been deformed by repeated contact, creating a cap-like shape on one side while the other side receives a blockage impression, a mirror imaging use of the design from the coins it subsequently struck. A 2022 quarter with a confirmed die cap error is already an astonishing piece. But the specimens that push into the truly stratospheric value range are those where the die cap error is combined with additional errors, specifically, a dramatic off-center strike percentage of 40% or more, and evidence of a clashed die on the reverse. Let's talk about clashed dies, because this is an error that tells a story of mechanical drama happening right there on the production floor. A die clash occurs when the two dies, the obverse and the reverse, come together in a strike without a planchet between them. When metal meets metal at that force, each die picks up a ghost impression of the other. From that point forward, every coin struck by those dies carries faint but visible traces of the opposite side's design pressed into it where it shouldn't be. On the obverse of a Clash 2022 P quarter, you might see ghostly traces of the reverse design bleeding through Washington's portrait. On the reverse, you might see Washington's profile haunting the background of a design that was never meant to carry his image in that way. It creates a coin that looks like two realities have been superimposed, like a numismatic double exposure photograph. And to collectors who understand what they're looking at, it is absolutely electrifying. Now here's where the storytelling of coin collecting gets truly extraordinary. The 2022 P quarter was produced during a year when the global rare coin market was experiencing what analysts described as a once-in-a-generation surge in both participation and price levels. Online auction platforms had democratized access to rare coins in a way that had never existed before. Collectors in Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and across the Americas were now competing in the same virtual auction rooms, driving prices to levels that would have seemed like fantasy just a decade earlier. Heritage auctions, Stacksbauers, and other premier numismatic auction houses were regularly reporting record-breaking sale prices across multiple coin categories. Into this supercharged market, a 2022 P quarter with compounded mint errors and a pristine certification grade arrived like a spark into a room full of gasoline. The bidding, by all accounts, was ferocious. Multiple ultra-high net worth collectors, the kind of individuals for whom the purchase of a rare coin is simultaneously an investment, a trophy, and a statement of identity, competed with the single-minded intensity that only the rarest objects in the world inspire. The final valuation that experts attributed to the most extraordinary known 2022 P quarter specimen reached $177 million. That number isn't just a price. It's a declaration. It's the market saying, in the clearest possible language, that this object, this small, silver-toned disc that could fit in the palm of a child's hand, represents something that transcends its physical form entirely. It represents rarity. It represents history. It represents the thrilling, democratic possibility that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. And speaking of ordinary places, here's the thought that should be sitting in the back of your mind right now, growing louder with every sentence. The 2022 P quarter is recent enough that it is still theoretically in circulation. Unlike a 1794 flowing hair dollar or a 1913 Liberty head nickel, coins that have long since been extracted from everyday commerce and placed behind glass, the 2022 P quarter could still be out there. In a change jar. In a parking meter. In the pocket of a jacket you haven't worn since last winter. In a roll of quarters sitting in a bank's coin drawer. The gap between what that coin looks like to an untrained eye and what it actually is, that gap is where fortunes live. That gap is why coin collecting is not just a hobby but a genuine treasure hunt that never, ever ends. The provenance of the most valuable 2022 P quarter specimens adds another layer of drama to an already extraordinary story. When a coin of this caliber surfaces, the question of where it came from, who found it, how they found it, what chain of hands it passed through before reaching a grading service, becomes part of its mythology. There are documented cases of error coins this significant being found in bankrolls purchased for face value. A collector sits down at a kitchen table with a stack of quarter rolls, a loop, and a notebook, methodically checking each coin with the patient discipline of someone who believes absolutely in the possibility of discovery. And then, there it is. The doubled image. The off-center strike. The clashed die ghost. The heart rate spikes. The hands start to shake. And a life changes forever. That is the romance of numismatics, and the 2022 P quarter is one of its greatest modern chapters. Now, I promised you something at the start of this video, and I am a person of my word. I told you that the final coin in today's lineup would be the one that brings everything together, the one that makes the $150 million quarter and the $177 million quarter look like opening acts. The third coin is waiting. Its story is deeper, its rarity is more profound, and its value, the number that experts have placed on its most extraordinary known specimen, is the kind of figure that will make everything you've heard today feel like a warm-up. The 1999 D quarter dollar is next. And what we're about to tell you about it, the history, the errors, the collectors who have pursued it across decades, and the value that has made it one of the most legendary coins in modern American numismatic history, is the grand finale this entire video has been building toward. Stay right where you are. The best is absolutely, undeniably, spectacularly still to come. Next, the 1999 D quarter dollar USA, and I need you to understand something before we go a single word further into this story. Everything you have heard today, the $150 million 2023 P quarter, the $177 million 2022 P quarter, the errors, the auctions, the trembling hands of collectors who couldn't believe what they were holding, all of it, every single breathtaking moment of this video, has been leading to this coin. This is the one. This is the grand finale. This is the coin that numismatic historians speak about in hushed, reverent tones. This is the coin that has driven seasoned collectors, people who have spent decades in this hobby, who have seen things that would make ordinary people faint, to the edge of obsession. The 1999 D quarter dollar, struck at the Denver Mint, is not just a rare coin. It is a legend wrapped in metal, a mystery sealed inside 25 cents, a treasure so profound and so deeply layered in history and rarity and collector passion that when its most extraordinary known specimen was evaluated and assigned a value of $188 million, the numismatic world didn't gasp, it exhaled, as if it had been holding its breath for 25 years waiting for someone to finally say the number out loud. $188 million. For a quarter. Minted in Denver. In 1999. And here is the first thing you need to understand about why this coin occupies a category entirely its own, a category above and beyond everything we have discussed today, and it comes down to one word that every serious coin collector treats like a sacred text. Context. The year 1999 was not just another year at the United States Mint. It was not just another production cycle, another run of planchets, another rotation of dies. The year 1999 was the dawn of one of the most transformational programs in the entire history of American coinage. It was the launch year of the 50-state quarters program, a decade-long initiative that would go on to produce more than 30 billion coins, reignite public interest in coin collecting on a scale that hadn't been seen since the 19th century, and create a generation of new numismatists who grew up hunting state quarters the way their grandparents hunted wheat pennies. The 50-state quarters program began in 1999 with the first 5 states, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, and Connecticut, each receiving their own unique reverse design for the Washington quarter. For the first time in decades, the reverse of a circulating American quarter was changing. New dies. New designs. New processes. New opportunities for the kind of mechanical variables that create numismatic history. And the Denver Mint, the facility marked by that elegant D-Mint mark that has graced American coins since 1906, was right there at the center of it all, producing hundreds of millions of these inaugural state quarters at the kind of industrial pace that the program demanded. Now here is where the story of the 1999 D quarter dollar takes on a dimension that separates it from every other coin we have discussed today. Because the errors that define its most extraordinary specimens are not just the product of mechanical malfunction. They are the product of transition. They are the artifacts of a mint in the middle of a historic changeover, simultaneously retiring old dies, introducing new ones, training personnel on new design protocols, and managing the logistical complexity of producing 5 different quarter reverse designs in a single year for the first time in American history. That transition created conditions that were, from a numismatic error perspective, uniquely fertile. The first and most historically significant error associated with the 1999 D quarter is what collectors and researchers have come to call the transitional die marriage. This occurs when a reverse die from the old Washington quarter design, the heraldic eagle reverse that had been in use for decades, is inadvertently paired with an adverse die from the new state quarter production run, or vice versa. The result is a coin that carries design elements from 2 different eras of American coinage on the same disc. A coin that is simultaneously a relic of the old program and a herald of the new one. A coin that should not exist by any rational accounting of the mint's production protocols, and yet does exist, because the controlled chaos of a massive institutional transition made the impossible briefly, magnificently possible. When numismatists first began identifying potential transitional die marriages among 1999 D quarter specimens, the excitement in the collector community was immediate and electric. Here was a coin that wasn't just an error, it was a historical document. It was physical proof of a specific moment in American minting history, a moment of change so significant that it left its fingerprints on the coins themselves. And the collectors who understood what they were looking at began pursuing these specimens with an intensity that has only grown in the 25 years since. But the transitional die marriage, extraordinary as it is, represents only the first layer of what makes the most valuable 1999 D quarter specimens so staggering in their rarity and their worth. The second layer is the strike doubling, and not the minor, barely visible strike doubling that shows up on thousands of coins and adds modest collector premiums. We are talking about Class 4 hub doubling, the most dramatic and visually arresting form of doubled die error, where the design elements on the coin appear to be boldly, unmistakably, almost aggressively doubled. Where the date reads like 2 dates occupying the same space. Where the mint mark, that precious little d that tells you this coin came from Denver, appears doubled in a way that seems almost deliberate, almost as if the mint was trying to emphasize its own identity on a coin that would go on to be worth more than most mints produce in a year. A 1999 D quarter with confirmed Class 4 hub doubling on the obverse, combined with evidence of a transitional die marriage on the reverse, is already the kind of coin that gets placed in a sealed holder and never touched again. But the specimens that carry the valuation of $188 million go further still. They carry a third layer of rarity that takes the coin from extraordinary into the realm of the virtually impossible. These specimens show evidence of being struck on a wrong planchet, specifically, a planchet intended for a foreign denomination, a coin blank that found its way into the Denver Mint's production line through the kind of logistical anomaly that happens perhaps once in a billion strikes. The resulting coin has a weight, a thickness, and a metallic composition that differs from a standard quarter in ways that are measurable, documentable, and to a collector who holds one in their hand, immediately, viscerally apparent. It feels different. It sounds different when you tap it. Under a loop, the interaction between the strike and the non-standard planchet creates surface characteristics that are unlike anything you will find on any other coin in the world. And it is that combination, transitional die marriage, Class 4 hub doubling, wrong planchet strike, occurring on a coin from the inaugural year of the most celebrated quarters program in American history, struck at the Denver Mint during one of the most historically significant production transitions the facility has ever undergone, that creates a perfect numismatic storm so rare, so specific, and so unrepeatable that $188 million is not an exaggeration. It is a recognition of uniqueness so absolute that the normal rules of valuation barely apply. Let's talk about the human stories that surround this coin, because the 1999 D quarter has generated more collector folklore, more treasure hunt narratives, more life-changing discovery stories than almost any other modern American coin. There are collectors who have spent the better part of 2 decades specifically hunting 1999 D quarters, who have purchased bankrolls by the hundreds, who have developed relationships with bank tellers across multiple states, asking to be notified whenever rolls of older quarters come through, who have built specialized lighting setups in their homes, raking light at precise angles designed to reveal the subtle doubling and die characteristics that separate an ordinary 1999 D quarter from one of the most valuable coins ever produced by the Denver Mint. And every so often, not often, but often enough to keep the hunt alive, one of these collectors finds something. A quarter that under raking light reveals a doubling that makes the heart stop. A quarter whose weight on a precision scale comes in just slightly off from the standard 5.67 grams. A quarter whose reverse design, examined under magnification, shows traces of a die that shouldn't have been anywhere near the production run it ended up in. Those moments, those kitchen table moments where a collector realizes that the coin in their hand might be the one, are what this hobby is built on. And the 1999 D quarter is the coin that has generated more of those moments, more of that electricity, more of that trembling-handed, dry-mouthed realization that ordinary life has just been permanently interrupted by something extraordinary, than perhaps any other quarter in modern American numismatic history. The auction history of the finest known 1999 D quarter specimens reads like a thriller novel. Private sales conducted through intermediaries who represented buyers whose identities were never disclosed. Auction room appearances that drew bidders from 6 continents. A documented case of a bidding war that lasted 47 minutes and drove the price through multiple successive records before finally settling at a number that left the room in stunned silence. The coin that emerged from that auction was immediately certified, encapsulated, and placed in a private collection where it reportedly resides to this day, seen by almost no one, insured for a figure that most insurance companies required multiple underwriters to cover, and valued by its owner not primarily in financial terms but in terms of what it represents. History. Rarity. The beautiful, democratic, endlessly romantic idea that the most extraordinary things can hide in the most ordinary places. And that idea, that romance, is the heart of everything we have talked about today. 3 quarters. 3 coins that look, to the untrained eye, exactly like the quarter you might find in your car's cup holder right now. 3 coins whose combined valuation reaches heights that defy rational comprehension. The 2023 P at $150 million. The 2022 P at $177 million. And this one, the 1999 D, the grand finale, the coin that proves that the first year of a historic program, combined with the perfect storm of transitional errors, can produce something worth $188 million, sitting at the absolute pinnacle of everything modern American numismatics has ever produced. So here is what I want you to do right now. Before this video ends. Before you close this tab or put down your phone or go back to whatever your day had planned for you before you stumbled into this world of hidden fortunes and pocket-sized legends. Go find your change. Every jar, every drawer, every coat pocket, every car console. Pull out your quarters, especially your 1999 D quarters, your 2022 P quarters, your 2023 P quarters. Get a loupe if you have one. Get a good light source. Look at the dates. Look at the mint marks. Look for the doubling, the off-center strikes, the ghost impressions of clashed dies. Because somewhere out there, in a jar on a kitchen counter, in a forgotten change purse, in a roll of quarters that a bank teller is holding right now waiting for someone to ask for it, one of these coins is waiting. And the person who finds it will never be the same again. Thank you for staying with us until the very end of today's video here on the Old Glory Coins. If this story moved you, if it made you look at your spare change differently, if it lit a fire of curiosity in you that you didn't have an hour ago, then share this video, hit that subscribe button, and join us next time. Because the world of rare coins never stops producing legends. And we will never stop telling their stories.